everybody. This is Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, here to get you guys ready for tonight's second preseason game for the 49ers as they take on the Minnesota Vikings. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. The 49ers just put out a list of who is going to play and who won't be playing. It's quite an extensive group of guys that will not be taking part in this contest for the 49ers. So let's get into it real quick. Let's go through it. Here are the names of the guys who will not be playing for the 49ers tonight. Trey Lance is not expected to play. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo. Running back Jeff Wilson. Running back Elijah Mitchell. Fullback Kyle Juszczyk. So really quick, just to kind of stop there, and with no Kyle Juszczyk, it's going to be interesting to see who plays fullback for the 49ers, since they usually use a fullback in their offense. Who will be taking that spot? I would expect that we see somebody like keep an eye out for tight end Ross Dwelley to be in that role tonight as the fullback. He had some of those reps during practice, at least on Monday before the team went out to Minnesota. So keep an eye out for that, for Ross Dwelley to be the fullback. And the reason it would be Ross Dwelley instead of some of the other tight ends is because the other one that usually would, who is Charlie Warner, he is not going to be playing as well. Charlie Warner recently activated from the PUP list. He is not expected to play tonight either. No Brandon Ayuk, no Deebo Samuel, no George Kittle. Really no surprises through that list. Maybe Jeff Wilson could be considered a little bit of a surprise that he's not going, but I don't think that's a big one either. Then we also have Daniel Brunskill and Jake Brendel. So who's going to play center for the 49ers? We'll get into that one here in a little bit. No Mike McGlinchey, no Trent Williams. McGlinchey, he played in week 1, but he had a little bit of knee issue after that, and so he's been out. So wasn't expecting him to go tonight. Jalen Moore, who's been injured as well. Backup tackle Colton McKivitz is out tonight, or not expected to play. McKivitz looks to be in line to be the top tackle behind the starters. That seems to be maybe why he's not playing tonight. Don't expect to see Samson Ebicom, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, the linebacker crew they all missed last week as well. Aziz Alshire, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, all those guys skipped out last week as well. Curtis Robinson, he got injured against Green Bay last week. And then Travarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Jimmy Ward, all injured, as well as Dante Johnson with the rib, and even Talanoa Hufanga. So this game tonight with the 49ers is going to be a big number of backups. It's really going to show off the depth of the team. So it's going to be really interesting as we go into it. We got Andrew says, "Hello, Jack. Do you have any dimes on tonight's game?" I went with under 38 points. I don't bet on any of the games. I just watch them and talk about them. Under 38 sounds like a pretty good number considering how many guys aren't playing for the 49ers, but there's also a big number of guys not playing for the Vikings either. Lucas Pesci comes to us all the way from over in Austria. He says, "Let's go. Looking forward to the game." I'm looking forward to it as well. Even though a lot of the starters and the normal guys aren't playing, it's going to give us a long look at some of the backups and the rookies. So that'll be something that's going to be fun to watch tonight. SK510 says, "Keeping eyes peeled on O-line, hearing good things about Poe." Yes. Jason Poe has been the most improved player in my eyes. When I go from what I saw of him during rookie minicamp to where he is today, the growth from Jason Poe has been amazing. I think he's right on the edge of making this roster. He's a bubble guy. He's the problem for Jason Poe a little bit is there's a number of guys that the 49ers have drafted in the last couple of years that they might want to stick with. Instead of having him bump, say, like a Nick Zakelj out. But I'd expect this. We might even see with no Brendel and no Brunskill in the lineup tonight. We may even see a little bit of Nick Zakelj tonight playing center. I know he took the first reps of the season that the media has been able to see, at least during practice in Minnesota, starting on with Wednesday's practice. So we'll see what even happens there. I don't really know what to expect at center. We'll get into that as we go through it here in a minute. Beast Productions, how do you get all 22 film access? Is NFL Plus the only way? Yeah, that's the only way that you can get it. You got to go through NFL Plus, and they've really screwed up their system over the last few years. It was pretty good. I didn't mind it a couple of years ago. Last season, they made a bunch of changes to it, and it's awful now. You used to be able to watch both views of every play. Now you have to choose between them and all this kind of stuff. It's not as good as it used to be, so it's much harder to work with. But let's get into the game. I already mentioned at the beginning. My first key for tonight was going to be who's playing. I didn't expect many of the starters to play. Kyle Shanahan told everybody last week before the first preseason game that he feels that the 2 practice sessions against the Vikings are more beneficial than the game. And in reality, he said that he wishes that all 3 weeks of the preseason that there weren't actually any games. It was just a series of joint practices that they get more out of that than they do during a game. And then you add in the fact that the Friars have a short week that's coming up. They're in Minnesota tonight. They have to fly back to Santa Clara. And then they've got to get on a plane and go back to Houston to play on Thursday night. That's brutal. That's just a brutal schedule for a football team. And it's not good for the 49ers. So you take, last Thursday was the last practice. Now those starters will take a few days off and they'll be ready to play. I think what Kyle Shanahan wants is for his starters to play some in that fourth game or the third game, because there'll be 17 days between the Houston game on that Thursday night and the start of the regular season. And there's also quite a gap between Thursday night and the cut down to 53. I think it's like 4 days because I think they play Thursday night and the cut down doesn't come till Tuesday. So there's a big gap there for the 49ers between this last preseason game that comes up on Thursday night. So, a couple of the things that I had said to look for was kind of brought up already. Jason Poe, keep an eye on these rookies. Jason Poe, Jordan Mason, and Tariq Castro-Fields. Those guys are all fighting for a spot on the roster. Poe, of those 3, has been, I think, maybe the best in terms of what he's doing at his position. I really like Jordan Mason, the way that he runs the ball. Tariq Castro-Fields, I haven't really seen anything from him that makes me believe that he's going to be able to make this roster. So those are the 3 primary rookies that I would say to keep an eye on outside of the guys that are going to start. Because if you're, on that list of guys that I went down, Aaron Banks appears like he's going to be playing tonight, and it looks like you're going to see the right guard as well in there. So that's, keep an eye out for Spencer Burford at right guard tonight. So those 2 young players will be manning the offensive line. And that's some veterans to watch. I had Jordan Willis, Ross Dwelly. I'd mentioned Colton McKivitz in my write-up, but McKivitz won't be playing tonight. So no Colton McKivitz to keep an eye on, but Justin School will be. Justin School's been struggling quite a bit in camp, especially in pass protection. And then veteran Jordan Mills. If you might end up having Justin School at one side and Jordan Mills at the other. I wouldn't be surprised to see Justin School being the left tackle tonight, with Jordan Mills being the right tackle. And then at center, you don't have Brunskill, you don't have Brendel, you have Donovan West, you have Keaton Sutherland. Those are the 2 main guys that are left. Keaton Sutherland has taken a bunch of snaps at center earlier in training camp and throughout the OTAs. Donovan West will probably get a lot of run tonight there as well. And then Nick Zackel, like I mentioned earlier, might get some snaps later on. But I would expect, I think the starting lineup is going to be something like at right tackle, Jordan Mills. Left tackle, I would say it's probably going to be either Justin School or Sam Schluter, the undrafted free agent rookie who actually played at the University of Minnesota. Center, I would bet it's going to be Keaton Sutherland over Donovan West. He's got some more experience in NFL. I think they'd want to see him there. And then you have Banks and Burford on either side of him. So it'll be an interesting group to see how that works out tonight. NorCal says, is Kamoko Toure just a camp body, or does he have a chance to make the team? I think that Kamoko Toure definitely has a chance to make the team. I think he's going to be he's a little bit down the list, but I think that this is a guy who definitely has a chance to make the team. I was very impressed with what he did on Friday night against the Green Bay Packers in run defense. He's done that a number of times. So I was really impressed with him there. CG Ruthless asks, what's your thoughts on Quantrez Knight? Quantrez Knight, undrafted rookie free agent. He's been getting better. Might as well just talk a little bit about the safeties really quick, because that's another spot to keep an eye on tonight. No Jimmy Ward. There's not going to be any Talanoa Hufanga, so there won't be him. So your starting safeties might be Tarvarius Moore and George Odom. I would expect to see Quantrez Knight getting some run in there. Quantrez Knight had an interception during the joint practice last week with Minnesota. So one of the things to look there is, can Quantrez Knight or Taylor Hawkins, who's another one of the younger safeties, do enough to keep San Francisco from adding a veteran safety? They had a veteran, according to one report that I saw, they had a veteran safety, I think it was Tayshaun Gibson, do a workout for them during their time in Minnesota. So keep an eye out for that as well. But I think Quantrez Knight, keep an eye on him. He struggled throughout training camp in man coverage, but as a safety, he's looked a little bit better. And that I think they view him more as a safety / slot guy. So keep an eye on there for Quantrez Knight. But I think you might see Tarvarius Moore and George Odom as the starters tonight. They're at the safety spots. This is a good one as well. CG Ruthless says Malik Turner versus Willie Snead for that last receiver spot. I agree. I think that would be one of the battles. I think when you look at the wide receiver room, that's a good one right there. You have Malik Turner. Kind of the guys at the end of it there are Malik Turner, Willie Snead, Marcus Johnson, maybe Tay Martin, excuse me. Austin Mack is another veteran that's on the roster right now. I don't see him making it. I don't see him being a part of that there. So just something to keep an eye on. But when you look at the wide receiver room, I would say it's going to probably be between Turner, Marcus Johnson, Snead as well falls into that category. So that sixth spot is going to go to somebody I think that can play special teams. So that's where I think probably why I think Malik Turner has the edge, but he hasn't really done much. So maybe it's going to be Willie Snead. And then as Raphael 5629er says, like and subscribe, everyone. If you like what you see on the channel and you enjoy it, hit that like button and then hit that subscribe button as well. I'm trying to continue to grow this thing, and it's been really good throughout training camp, and really appreciate everybody's support. He also wants to make a shout out. Says, "What's up, Jack, and the members of the Toolbox and everyone." That's the other thing with Raphael 5629ers. You see that little $sign next to his name. That's because he's actually a member of the channel, so he gets all the goodies that go along with it. And so if you'd like it, go ahead and become a member of the Toolbox, and you can join the channel. And eventually during the season, we'll have some members only shows as well. 49er Gang 916 says, Jack, who's going to play fullback with Hoka gone? So that's what I was getting into a little bit earlier. I think at running back or at fullback tonight, you're going to probably, the guy to keep an eye on there is going to be tight end Ross Dwelly. Not with no Howkett, no Hughes check. Look for Ross Dwelly to be doing that. During practice on Monday, Dwelly was running with the backup unit as the second fullback. And so I think it's probably going to be Ross Dwelly. If Charlie Warner was active, I would say keep an eye out for Warner, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be. So keep an eye out for Ross Dwelly to do that. You might see a little bit of Fumagalli or Tyler Croft. But I think if I was betting, I would say it's going to be Ross Dwelly tonight that plays fullback since there's going to be no Huschek or Hokett. Okay. Who is going to be Tony, another member of the Toolbox, Tony says, who is going to be the spy when the team plays mobile quarterbacks? I think that's usually one of the linebackers that they'll use. That's usually going to be like Dre Greenlaw or Aziz Al-Shire that do that because they want to let Warner be playing his main role. They usually use one of the other two, I believe, to be the spy on the quarterback there. That's a good question. We got Dirk Pippen in the house as well. Another Toolbox member says, yeah, it's hammer time. That's right. It's time to get ready for this game. Definitely ready for this game. Adrian Belgrave says, Jack, will Jeff Wilson Jr. stay on the team in your opinion? I think so. I think that's why we're not seeing him play tonight. If he wasn't going to make the roster, they would be letting him play. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. makes this roster. I think his versatility to play fullback, halfback, and special teams makes him somebody that's going to be making the final roster for the 49ers. And like Dirk says here, tonight is seriously make or break for some dudes. And it really is. And tonight is really the biggest night because you're going to, for the guys that are making up as far as making the roster on the back end of the roster. Tonight is a huge night for them to go out and perform under the lights. They're going to get a lot of playing time. Some of these decisions are kind of already made, but they can make, this is the time you can go out there, you make some plays, maybe you can change somebody's mind. And that's really what they need to try to do. Because as I was saying, I think you're going to see the starters all play a little bit against Houston, kind of as that final warm-up, get them, game ready for one. That's kind of what we saw with the 49ers last year in the preseason finale against the Raiders. That's when the starting group played about a quarter of that game, if you remember, with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance rotating in and out, but they kept the starters in there for a lot of that. And 49er gang 916 wants to see Jason Poe down at the goal line playing some fullback. Hey, you might see some of that. And then Roger James, how's the boy Jordan Willis this camp, Jack? Willis is good. He's a solid player, can do a lot of different things for the 49ers. Doesn't win a lot in the one-on-one reps against the offensive linemen. That just doesn't seem like where he's best. But he does a pretty good job when he's in there during team reps. So we'll see. I think Jordan Willis is a bubble guy with this roster. I think he's on the edge. He's right there. Not a sure thing, but he's not a sure thing to not make it either. So really quick, we talked about kind of who's playing on the offensive line. We got to keep an eye on that interior. We know for sure, like I said, now Trent Williams, McGlinchey aren't playing. Aaron Banks, Spencer Burford are. Jake Brendel, I thought would see some action, but he's not going to either. So, really, we're going to get a really good glimpse of Aaron Banks and Spencer Burford. Keep an eye still on that interior of the offensive line. You have on top of that, we need to keep an eye on the tackles, right? We know the interior held up pretty well against Green Bay. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out without one of the top centers in there. It's going to make things a little bit more difficult. Colton McKivitz isn't going to be playing, so I would expect to see, like I said earlier, Justin School at left tackle and Jordan Mills at right. Can they do better? School has really struggled in pass protection, and I think Jordan Mills, when you put McKivitz and School together, I think Jordan Mills has been the better pass protector of that group anyway. I think he's also been better than Jalen Moore, who also has been struggling throughout camp with his pass blocking. So keep an eye there. And then Jason Poe, keep an eye on him. Like I said earlier, he's been one of the most improved players throughout training camp. He looked strong on Friday against Green Bay. I think he's definitely on the bubble of making the roster now, where I wouldn't have said that a couple of weeks ago. He's definitely shown a lot of improvement. And then once again, with Nick Zackel, he's a 6th-round draft pick. He's kind of also, I think, on the bubble. I think there's maybe a little bit more likelihood he makes the team because they used the draft pick on him. He might be getting some snaps at center tonight. So we'll see what he does. I think that's number 63, Nick Zackel, the rookie out of Fordham. He was a 6th-round pick. Let's see really quick. Dirk wants you guys to hit that like button like Bosa. Thanks for the reminder there, Dirk. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoying what you're seeing. The more likes that these shows get, the more they get out there in the algorithm that YouTube has, and the more people they get to see it, and that helps everybody out, especially myself, and helps you guys out too, because that's why I come to do this, is to share the information with you guys and try to grow the brand, as they say, right? Let's talk a little bit about the cornerback position. No Charvarius Ward, no Emmanuel Mosley, they're out. Ken Crawley, the 49ers signed him on August 10th. He's a 6-year NFL veteran. What's interesting about Crawley is they just signed him. Like I said, it was August 10th, and today's the 20th. So 10 days ago, they signed him. He moved past Ambry Thomas and Diamondre Lenoir on Sunday during Sunday's practice in Santa Clara. He had already moved past Ambry Thomas and Diamondre Lenoir on the depth chart, at least with who was working with the starting defensive group. So keep an eye on that group. I think you're going to see Ken Crawley at starting on one side. I think you'll probably see Diamondre Lenoir as the starting cornerback on the opposite side. Ambry Thomas has really struggled throughout camp, and it seems like he's really slipping down the depth chart. At nickelback, the 49ers like Sam Womack so much that they released Darqueze Dennard on Monday. Womack's name was not one of those that was appearing as not likely to play tonight. So keep an eye out for Sam Womack to see if he can duplicate the fantastic game that he had against Green Bay. This group was beaten repeatedly by Vikings receivers on Wednesday during joint practices. They bounced back on Thursday, though. So which group is going to show up? Are they going to be able to hold up? Obviously, if you look at the list for the Vikings, it's almost as long as the list of players not playing for the 49ers. Some of the guys for the Minnesota Vikings that will not be playing tonight are guys such as Adam Thielen, the stud outside wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, not playing tonight. KJ Osborne, who is their third receiver, not playing tonight. There's 27 Vikings not playing. One of their top cornerbacks, Cam Dantzler, not playing. No Dalvin Cook, no Patrick Peterson, no Harrison Smith, no Cam Bynum, the former Cal product. Vikings are going without their fullback, CJ Ham. Eric Kendricks is out. Outside linebackers, Darius Smith is out. So it's a long list on both sides of players that aren't playing. The NFL's got to love this, right? They've got a game plan tonight, and because of the two joint practices that they just had, nobody's playing. So you gotta love that. That's fantastic stuff. No, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good because we get to see a lot of these other guys playing. One other thing when we look at the cornerback position too, Sam Womack has spent nearly all of his time since joining the 49ers playing inside at the slot. He spent some time on the outside during rookie minicamp and the beginning of OTAs, and then he kind of transitioned, and all of his reps have been from the slot until Monday. In Santa Clara, I saw him take a few reps as an outside corner. So will he play some outside corner tonight with the number of guys that aren't playing? That'll be something to keep an eye on. I think they'll primarily have him playing on the inside, but maybe they'll try to get him sneak in a few snaps for him as well at the on the outside. And then last but not least is the running backs. So at running back, Trey Sermon, there was some question about him after Thursday's practice. He was seen limping to the team bus. There was a little bit of doubt whether or not he was going to be able to play tonight. The 49ers didn't issue any kind of an injury report after practice on Thursday. The only injury information that generally comes out is when Kyle Shanahan addresses the media. He did that on Wednesday, didn't come out yesterday. So there was no information really, but it started to surface. I heard a report, I think it was Matt Barrows reported it earlier today, that Sermon was going to test out the ankle, and they felt like he was going to be good to go. So we might see Trey Sermon after all tonight. Couple of other things to look for. Rookie Tyrion Davis-Price. No, he's best known for his power in college. That's what everybody was so excited about bringing him in. But this is the guy who, at least for me, when I watched TDP on Friday night, I wasn't impressed. I was unimpressed with his performance. Here's a guy that's supposed to be physical, and he was dancing around the backfield quite a bit instead of just getting up there and hitting the hole. And so I want to see him attack the line of scrimmage better. While Davis-Price was dancing on Friday night, you had Jermichael Hasty, who's not the same size back. He's thought of as more of a speed back. He was doing the opposite of Davis-Price. He was hitting the hole repeatedly with just hammering the hole. And he was able to get, that's what led to him getting over 7 yards per attempt. I was really impressed with what I saw out of Jermichael Hasty. And then the other thing there is undrafted rookie free agent Jordan Mason. He was solid against Green Bay. I really like Jordan Mason. When I watch Jordan Mason, when I see a back that does everything that Kyle Shanahan wants to see in his running backs. Everything he does is working downhill. It's downfield, when even his cuts are still moving downfield. And so I really like him. I thought Jeff Wilson Jr. might play, but he's going to be out as well tonight. So we'll get a really good shot at Hasty. We'll get a good shot at Jordan Mason, and we're going to see a lot of Trey Sermon and Tyrion Davis-Price as well. Those will be your four running backs tonight as Sermon Jeff Wilson Jr. and Elijah Mitchell sit out tonight. NorCal 2225 asks, do you think Ambry Thomas will make the team, or do they keep him around and hope year 3 shows enough improvement to start? I think that Ambry Thomas is one of those guys that's on the bottom of the depth chart in terms of making the roster. They used a 3rd round pick on him last year. It seems to me that he's not, right now I think they would look at him as their fifth best. If everybody was healthy, Ambry Thomas might be their fifth or sixth best cornerback. You would have obviously Travarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley ahead of him. Jason Verrett, if he's healthy, is ahead of him. We already know that Ken Crawley is ahead of him based off of what they've done. And so now at that point, is he better than Deommodore Lenoir? I can't say decisively that I think Ambry Thomas is better than Deommodore Lenoir. Neither one of them really does a good job of covering anything deep. Ambry Thomas is excellent if the play's in front of him. He's very good at attacking forward. But when the ball's deep, he struggles quite a bit. So I think he makes the roster, but I think he's the guy who's at the bottom end of it. That's the way that I see it there with him. A couple other things to keep an eye on. If you look at the defensive line, a big group, a number of that group won't be playing tonight. Charles Omenihu is not one of the names. Green Bay, he sat that game out, so we'll see if he gets into the game tonight. So Charles Omenihu might be out there. Just kind of looking through it, I would say, another name that wasn't listed as out for tonight is Javon Kinlaw. So we might see a little bit of Javon Kinlaw, Kerry Hyder, Hassan Ridgeway, Kamoka Ture, Kevin Givens, Drake Jackson. All those guys should be seeing action tonight. So the defensive line, Alex Barrett as well, Jordan Willis, Kevin Atkins. That's a pretty deep group, even if you take those top three guys out, Bosa, Armstead, Ebicom. Beyond that, it's still a pretty good pass rush for the 49ers. With the Vikings backups, most of the Vikings backup offensive linemen starting, they should still be able to put a good deal of pressure on the Green Bay quarterbacks. So we'll see those guys. And then at linebacker, you're going to see Oren Burks, Demetrius. You're going to see Flanagan Fowles, and you're going to see. I think you'll probably see Marcelino McCurry Ball starting. I think that'll be your threesome at linebacker, which is the same group as we saw on Friday night. Curtis Robinson, who's one of the backup guys, won't be there, and so at linebacker, the other, it'll be, like I said, Marcelino McCurry Ball, Burks, Flanagan Fowles, and then you'll have Saguna Lube and Jeremiah Gamel being the backups that are going to be able to play tonight. In the secondary, all the top guys are out. Dante Johnson's out. Ambry Thomas, Sam Womack, George Odom, Tariq Castro-Fields, Deommodore Lenoir, Kadar Holman, Quantrez Knight, and Taylor Hawkins. Those are the secondary players that are going to be active that we'll be keeping an eye on. So big night tonight for Nate Sudfeld. Big night tonight for Brock Purdy. I would expect each of those quarterbacks to get about a half. That would be the way that I would expect to see them split that up. So between the two teams, it's going to be a lot of backups, a lot of young players. It's going to be, I think, an interesting game from that standpoint, that we're going to get to see a lot of names that we're not used to seeing. So, if you're a 49ers fan, my suggestion is make sure you still tune in, because there's going to definitely be some moving and shaking in terms of I think, the roster. Definitely going to be some change ups in the way that fans are looking at this roster, and, who's doing well. Maybe some, there's going to be some thinking that guys are moving around on the roster quite a bit tonight. It's going to be the good thing with tonight's game is it's going to give us a look again at a lot of the backups to, those guys that are on the bubble. Tonight's the night to make the team. If you're on the bubble, this is your chance, because there's going to be a cut down, and then they have a quick game coming up on Thursday, and then there's a few days before final cut down. And I think we're going to see a lot more of the starters in Houston. So let me just see if there's any more questions. We have Captain Insano. He wants to hear more about the World of Outlaws talk. He went to Attica, which is in Ohio, in July, and got to see the win out there. The Outlaws are actually running a doubleheader tonight in Minnesota, of all places. A big race out in Jackson, Minnesota. I'm not sure where that is in relationship to Minneapolis, but there's a big race going on out there They had a race this morning, and then they got another one coming up tonight. It's a doubleheader. We got Jay Guile says, Jack, do you think Poe will make the 53? Will Brendel start on opening day at center? If McGlinchey isn't ready, who will start at right tackle? Can Purdy be QB2? Jay, I like the fact that you gave me $5. I really appreciate you for the super chat. Thank you very much. I also like the fact that you threw out a whole bunch of questions there. So let's get into them. Number one, do I think Poe's going to make the 53? I don't think he's going to make the 53. I think he's right on the edge of it, though. I've been very impressed with Jason Poe and the growth. I just don't know if he makes the roster over some of the other guys that they brought in as far as draft picks. I don't know if he makes the roster over Nick Zakelj. I don't know, depends on, I think, partly on what happens with Jalen Moore. Is he healthy or not? So I would, if I was a betting man, I would put Poe on the practice squad just off of the 53. As far as at center, I do think that it's going to be Brendel starting on opening day. I think he's going to be the guy that moves forward at that position. He's been taking all the reps there this week with Brunskill being out. I think Brunskill's role with the team season is going to be as the sixth man of the offensive line, playing everywhere, the first guy off the bench everywhere. If McGlinchey isn't ready to start at right tackle, who would? I think if that's the case, then again, I just kind of mentioned it. If Brunskill's healthy, I think you might even see Daniel Brunskill there. Colton McKivitz. If it's not Brunskill, it would be Colton McKivitz. I think they really like him. They've been keeping him out there and running him out there quite a bit at both left and right tackle. Last year, he wasn't even a regular member of the 53-man roster, but Colton McKivitz was who they brought off the bench to play in place of Trent Williams down in Los Angeles in a winner go-home game in Week 18. I like that. And then in terms of can Purdy be the quarterback too? Eventually, I don't think now. Right now, I think Nate Sudfeld has actually had a pretty good training camp. He looked good for the most part in the game against Green Bay. The deal with Nate Sudfeld is he's an highly efficient quarterback. He's kind of what you want out of your backup. Probably not going to turn the ball over very much, like what they saw with Nick Mullins. He's a little bit more cautious with the ball there. He has enough arm to make all the throws that Kyle Shanahan's looking for. Every once in a while, he kind of short arms things, and that's where the trouble comes in. Because instead of just really ripping it in there, he tries to be a little too fine. And he had an interception early in camp on something like that. Purdy, I like. I think he maybe can be the long-term backup, next year or 2 years down the road. But I don't think he's that guy right now. He doesn't have the arm necessarily to make all of the throws in the NFL, but he can make almost all of the throws that are necessary to execute the Kyle Shanahan offense. He's a decent QB 3, 2.5, 3 kind of guy. Matthew Mears asks, are the real quick, Jay, thank you very much again for the super chat. I appreciate that. Matthew Mears asks, are starters not playing next game either? I think that's part of the expectation, Matthew, is that the reason they're not playing this game is Kyle Shanahan had mentioned this prior to the preseason, that the focus in Minnesota was going to be to have the starters get their work during the joint practices so that they could be ready to play on Thursday night against Houston, because there's a 17-day break between Houston and the first game of the regular season. So I would expect to see more of the starters on the field for a series or two against Houston on Thursday night. NorCal 22-25. I know it's just preseason, but if you've been able to be at practices. Wondering if you see anything different from Chris Foerster as the new run game coordinator. I don't see anything new. I know myself and some others pointed out how often the 49ers ran kind of what looked like a new wrinkle. They spent a lot of time on Monday working zone read with an option coming off of it. That's not really necessarily new, though. The 49ers did that a little bit last year in preseason. It was a little bit later in preseason a little bit earlier in preseason, then they didn't really practice it quite as much. And that's really the only wrinkle. Everything else is very similar to what we saw what we've seen before. The 49ers run game features a little bit of everything, primarily outside zone read, what they do, gap scheme stuff. They've even with Jimmy Garoppolo, they ran what looked like a zone read kind of concept, but you pretty much knew that the quarterback wasn't going to keep it on any of that stuff. And that's why when Trey Lance played, every once in a while, you'd actually see the quarterback pull it. But I don't think the running game is much different than a season ago, other than that one little wrinkle of the zone read with an option coming off of it. Let's see. Dirk wants to know who else is fired up in here. I can't wait to see the running games tonight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to tonight's game. Looking forward to just seeing a bunch of different names on the field and how some of these other guys play. I know it's not super exciting because you're not seeing the starters, but I'm excited to see the backups. I'm excited to see them kind of get their run. Am I looking forward to any particular coverage packages? No, I don't think we're not going to see anything fancy. It's going to be all pretty vanilla because it's the backup guys, and it's just going to be the normal stuff that they run. I'm just looking forward to seeing how Ken Crawley and that group can hold up. Not going against the top guys from Minnesota or the top quarterback because Kirk Cousins isn't playing should help them out a little bit in coverage. So it's going to be a little bit more of a level playing field for the 49ers rookies and backups that are out there too. Let's see. Captain Insano, I thought Anthony Lynn was the new coordinator of the run game. Anthony Lynn is the new running back coach, but the new run game coordinator, kind of / offensive coordinator in some ways, is Chris Furster. He's the guy that's the main run. I think Anthony Lynn and Chris Furster work together, but Kyle Shanahan has mentioned a number of times how it's Furster who kind of has taken over the Mike McDaniel role of that role. And even he said that McDaniel learned everything from Furster during their time in starting in Washington. So not a big difference there tonight for the change this year. And Philip asks, do you know if the Vikings are going to play their starters? I just mentioned that a minute ago. No. Here's the Vikings players that are not expected to play. We went through the 49ers list earlier. I'm just going to run them all off. Cam Dantzler, he's a starter. Dalvin Cook, starter. Patrick Peterson, I think he's a starter still. He's on the edge. Kirk Cousins out. KJ Osborne not expected to play. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum. That's a big number right there. CJ Ham, Chandon Sullivan, linebacker Eric Hendricks, Zadarius Smith, the outside linebacker pass rusher, center Garrett Bradbury, linebacker Jordan Hicks, offensive lineman Chris Reed, the young tackle Christian Darrisaw, guard Ezra Cleveland, guard Jesse Davis, tackle Brian O'Neill, defensive lineman Julian Taylor. Julian Taylor is a former 49er. You might remember his name from when he was a member of the Niners last year at this time. Tight end Irv Smith Jr., wide receiver Dan Chisena, tight end Johnny Munt, defensive lineman Dalvin Tomlinson, defensive lineman Harrison Phillips, and outside linebacker Daniil Hunter. So quite a group of Vikings to go along with that list of 49ers that aren't going to be playing tonight. So hopefully that one answers your question there. Let's see what else we've got. Last thing, I'm going to go really quick. Let's go through the John Shoup really quick. He threw this out. I know Shoup, he follows the Press Democrat blog, so I'm going to throw his question up here. He says, do you think Ty Davis still gets drafted if running back coach Bobby Turner was still in the room? I think so. I think the 49ers like Ty Davis. I think they're with what they're looking for from their run game with Trey Lance. I think the 49ers are expecting their run game to be a little bit more ball control. They're expecting their explosive plays to come out of their passing game. They're expecting the run game to be between the tackles, a little bit off tackle stuff. But you're going to see a lot of that explosiveness come from the passing game. You're also going to see some explosiveness in the run game again with Deebo Samuel. He got a lot of reps at running back on Sunday in Santa Clara and on Tuesday or Monday as well. Same thing with Ray McLeod. So you're going to see an offense that has a little bit more explosiveness in the passing game, a little bit more between the tackles, kind of pounding it, controlling the clock. That'll help out the defense. It'll help out Trey Lance, and it'll help Trey Lance also with play action, shot plays, and those types of things, which he's going to be better at than Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, because of the arm strength. So I do think that he would be there. So Tony, thank you very much for the super chat. We are about 29 minutes now for the game to get started. Philip, there's absolutely zero reason for you to say sorry. I have no problem with going back through the list. So we got about 29 minutes left. I've got to get going. I've got to get the live blog set up over at 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. Make sure if you guys liked what you've seen so far, ladies and gentlemen that are watching the show, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, get yourself over to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. That's the Inside the 49ers blog. The Press Democrat is who I work for. They're the ones that put this all together and allow me to really cover the team, and I really appreciate it. So if you guys can show them the love, that'd be awesome. Make sure you follow along tonight. I'll have, like I said, a live blog. It's going to be starting up here in about 10 minutes. Once I got up here, I'll get it set up, and we'll get going. There'll be my thoughts and analysis throughout the game. So tune in, 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. Make sure before you leave tonight, though, you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and then do one other thing for me. Hit that little bell notification so you know when we go live all the time. I'll be back later tonight after the game with a quick show to kind of recap everything as well. And in addition to the live blog, there'll be a write-up of the game following it. So enjoy the evening. Enjoy the game. Take care, everybody. Thank you a lot. We had a great group in here, 189 people in here right now. So hammer that like button before you head out. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the game tonight. Take care, everybody.